Hello, welcome to session 7, lesson number 7, the science of self-defense. Last week we talked about how to follow up behind an inward block, and we had an inward elbow strike that we used, we had a knife hand strike, and we had a reverse punch. Because as you recall, the nature of the inward block tends to pull the attacker into us just a little bit. At the same time, it deflects him off to the side. Now, the biggest goal, of course, is to deflect the punch. It's just a reality that as we're moving backwards, it's going to pull it in, so we're much more likely to have a good close shot with an elbow or a knife hand or a reverse punch. But if you think back to when we learned the outward block, it's a different motion. I'm starting off here relative to Bob, and as you recall, the outward block goes this way. Now, Bob and I are about the same height today. He's adjustable, okay? But I mentioned that because I also mentioned to you in the previous lesson that an outward block isn't just outward, it can be outward and upward. The blocking motion can go anywhere from upward to outward, and strangely enough, even to downward. All that same motion is just how far you've articulated the shoulder. Okay? So he's taller, so when I'm executing the block today in what we're doing, I'll be blocking a little bit higher. Some of y'all from a tradition where they really emphasize upward block for this and outward block for that, will say, well, gee, that looks like an upward block. Well, it's close, okay? And I say it's close because it's still covering the front of my body, isn't it? It just ends up pushing it off to the side a little bit. If someone's hitting straight down at me, I do not want to go straight up to resist him. Things run together and both things break. I want to deflect it away, even though it's high. And most people do not attack swinging something down at you unless it's a stick or a club, and we have better things to do on them. All of that setting the scene for stepping back with an upward block, an upward drifting outward block, okay? It's high. It's in an upward orientation, but it's still our outward block, okay? Bob comes, I step back. Now, where the inward block pulled it in, what's the outward block doing? What's the movement? It's going from me towards him a little bit, isn't it? So it's about a zero sum, as the accountants like to say, in that if I started off here and I block against him a little bit, he stops somewhere in the middle. There is no way that I'm going to reach him with an inward elbow strike unless when I blocked his punch, he tripped over his own feet and fell forward. I know we're never going to be that lucky, right? Okay. So we're going to have to go to the longer range techniques, namely the reverse punch. So he attacks at me, I block, I reverse punch. I'm headed for his solar plexus. That's where we would like to practice the majority of the reverse punches, but that's not to say that we can't ruin his day with a face punch. You've got plenty of power with a reverse punch to stop an attacker when you get to the solar plexus or to one of the floating ribs. The punch is going straight forward at that height. When it's going up, notice there's a little bit of a tendency that it could graze off of the target. Now that doesn't mean don't do it. It just means for practice, spend most of your time going straight out so that your body gets used to driving its energy forward. This is a good time to call to your attention that the center of your mass, right down here just below your belly button, about 2 inches down, if you're in Japanese, tantien is called, that is where the body motion drives forward, okay? And that adds to what we do with the reverse punch. As you recall, when we learned the punch, we said, well, there's a shift of the weight forward, there's a rotation of the hips. Think of the belly button as being what's going forward. There's a drill we like to do in class when you've got more than one person, or in our case, more than 0 persons, live persons. We'll have someone tie onto a person's belt. And they'll pull on the belt, and that's what it feels like when you execute one of these techniques correctly. You're driving in with your midsection. It's a really good drill. That one is safe to have somebody help you with. Just don't let them don't get a wise guy in there that's going to jerk you in half. Just have some pressure on it to pull you forward when you're punching to feel the drive. If you don't have a uniform yet, you can put a little rope or anything around you to do it. If you have a uniform, just use your belt. If you want to keep him back further, unwrap your belt and just wrap it around your body with one loop, which gives you a longer handle. Okay? But at any rate, we're back. We've got the extended outward block, remember, with the higher orientation here, and we've got reverse punch. So I'd like you now, from your natural stance, step back with your left foot, execute an outward block, and then as we punch forward, this hand is held in front of us. Remember, some of our Chinese brothers would say, well, you're punching through the guard. That's good. Some of our Japanese brothers would say, you forgot to use the reaction arm. But what we're saying is that we're loading this for the next strike. Okay? So we step back, block, punch, recover. Again, back to your natural stance. Step back and block, punch, recover. Again, step back and block, punch, recover. Again, block, punch, recover. Again, block, punch, recover. One more time, block, punch, recover. What I do not want us to do is get in the habit of going and standing there. Because if you punch somebody and stand there, 2 bad things happen. One, the power that you would have sent into his body, remember the ripples we talked about, the ripple effect? If you pull the hand out, the energy goes in there, it does damage. If you leave the hand there, there's a principle called rebound. The energy goes out, part of it comes back in your hand. If you hit a pile of boards or concrete and you don't break them, the energy comes back and your hand breaks. If you go all the way through, I've never seen anyone hurt themselves on a break if they accomplished it. When do you don't accomplish it? If you try too big of a break. Okay? You're not going to injure yourself on Bob or anybody else, I don't care how many crunches he does, but you're going to deprive yourself of that energy getting in there and disrupting not only his nervous system, which causes pain, but breaking a few ribs if you let it flare out. Just a quick reminder, remember it's 2-knuckle contact. When we hit him, we want it to be right there. Just relax into it, and away it goes. Okay? Now with your other foot, step back with your right foot. Execute a left extended outward block. Punch, recover. Okay, again, step back and block. Punch, recover. Again, step back and block. Make sure you're getting good hip rotation. Punch, recover. I'm going to the side to emphasize that. Stay on your side. Step back and block. Punch, remember, driving the hips forward, straightening the leg. That's where your thrust comes from. Get the shoulders into it. You want to present a good posture right here when that hand strikes so the energy can go that way. If you lean into it, you absorb force. If you lean back from it, you absorb force and you deprive yourself of reach. Okay? So one more time, punching with your right hand, stepping back with your right foot, block, punch, recover. Okay, let's do it a little faster now. Stepping back with your right foot. Okay, step back, block, punch, recover. Now all the way through it. Go. Step back, block, punch, recover. Go. Step back, block, punch, recover. Go. 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 And go. Okay? Without the rushing it. That's how I want you to practice it. It's not rushing it if you can do it right. But make sure you're doing it right. Don't forget to use your mirror. Okay? Right behind Bob is my mirror. It's a vital tool. Okay, what happens if after this block, the person is too far away for a reverse punch? Well, week before last, we learned a lunge punch. Covers a lot more ground, doesn't it? If I'm here and I step back, I'm way short. Lunge punch. Okay. So, stepping back with your left foot. Step back, outward block. Remember, the foot starts to come forward, stepping through first. This hand starts to drop down to protect us. Then about the time your left foot, my right foot, gets to about halfway, the punch starts, hits full extension somewhere on the face, just before the foot that stepped through hits the ground. So we maintain our forward momentum. Okay, you continue to work with your left foot and left hand. Okay, we're going to step back, outward block, step through, lunge punch. Again, step back, outward block, step through, lunge punch. Step back, outward block, step through, lunge punch. One more time, step back, outward block, step through, lunge punch. Okay, now you're going to step back with your right foot, execute a left outward block, mirror image, step through, lunge punch. Back to your fighting stance. Again, step back, outward block, step through, lunge punch, fighting stance. Step back, outward block, step through, lunge punch, fighting stance. Step back, outward block, step through, lunge punch, fighting stance. Once again, do it right. Don't rush it. Only perfect practice makes perfect. You can practice wrong all day long and nothing good happens from it. So be very much self-correcting, take your time, and in a very short, very brief period of time, you'll be really happy to say, oh, wow, this is starting to feel good. I'll look at it in the mirror and it looks just like it looked when he showed me how to do it on the screen. Okay, so that's the plan, isn't it? One step forward. What happens if we block it from here and we're out of range of a lunge punch? Oh, well, what's our ultimate long-range weapon so far? Bang. Maybe we slid back. Maybe the grass was a little slick or something. Maybe we just had a little stumble. We started to step in it. Boom, 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 boom. We got it blocked, but he's there, but he's still fixing to unload us on us again. So, snap kick and step through. Okay? So, topic number 3, step back, outward block, kick, set down. Now I want you to pay close attention to what we do with the hands when we're coming through with a snap kick after we've executed a block. If we do nothing with our hands, but lock them into place here, it's going to look something like this. We might as well just paint bullseyes all over us because we've left ourselves wide open. What we want to do is, after the block, when we start forward to here, the blocking hand comes back and this hand comes up. Now this hand coming up does 2 things. First off, it covers up the lower part of our body where this is covering up the higher part. And second off, if he moves into the kick that we were going to throw right here, he's too close. We're going to cram it. This hand's already loaded up for a lunge punch. So it serves 2 purposes. We've blocked. We've protected ourselves. Now we have the option. If he stayed at long range, we can do this. If he's come into medium long range, we can meet him with this. Or if he's come into medium range, we'll set it down and meet him with a reverse punch. Don't worry about throwing those other variations in. Those are inserted here by way of explaining why we want to have the hands in that position when we are executing the front snap kick after an outward block. Okay, step back with your left foot, extended outward block. Step through, guard yourself, kick, sit down to the front, change your hand position. We don't want to end up like this. Yes, I know you've seen it on TV. I've never seen anybody survive very long in a reverse stance like this. And by very long, I mean about 5 or 10 seconds. You've put your hands into positions where they really can't strike with anything except what I refer to as little flippy-dippy techniques that will work in a point tournament, but will not serve you well in a self-defense situation. So if you're at a school or know of a school where they practice for a lot of tournament competition, a stance like this can work. It'll give your opponent a different look, and he says, oh, what's that? Bang, all of a sudden you hit him with a point-getting technique. But not all point-getting techniques are fight-stopping techniques. Here we're talking about fight-stopping. It's not they're wrong. I love the sport too, but let's not mix apples and oranges. We're apples. Today, we're fighting in self-defense. Right, one more time, step back and block. Get your hands up as you kick, set it down to the front into a new fighting stance. Okay, again, step back and block, step through, kick, change your hands, set down, back behind you into a fighting stance, okay? Natural stance, step back and block, kick, protect yourself, sit down back behind you. Okay, this time, step back and block, kick and protect yourself, sit down forward. Okay? If you were already falling backward, you have overcommitted on the technique. If you're already falling forward after the kick, you've overcommitted. They're both equally bad. After the kick, you got to be here. Make your choice to come forward or make your choice to go to the rear. That is of utmost importance. Okay, now step back with your right foot, outward block. Okay, come through, chamber the knee, get your guard up, execute the kick, recover the kick, set it down behind you. Again, from a natural stance, step back and block. Chamber the kick, get your hands up, execute the kick, recover it, set it down behind you. A little faster this time. Step back and block, kick, recover, sit down behind. Step back and block, kick, recover, sit down behind. Step back and block, kick, recover, sit down behind. Step back and block, kick, recover, sit down behind. Listen closely. Step back and block, kick, recover, sit down to your front. New fighting stance. Again, step back and block. Kick, recover, protect yourself, sit down to the front, step back and block, kick, recover, sit down to the front. Very good, very good. Be patient with yourself. Very patient with yourself. So today, we talked about extended outward block, reverse punch. We talked about extending the outward block, following it with a lunge punch. And we talked about outward block, snap kick, those three combinations. If you have a friend from a Kenpo school, they'll say, well, this is technically an extended outward block. And for them, it's true. Just keep in mind this, for us, any of these heights is an outward block because we're interested in having, for right now, two blocks that work really well. An inward block and an outward block. There's 20-some more blocks that we can cover, but we don't need to and we're not going to because we want you to become proficient quickly. That's what it's all about. There's always time to add more material. If you overload the boat, it sinks. If you put in the right number of people, you paddle to shore, go out and make another trip, bring more people to shore that have perhaps bobbed around in life jackets. but you don't want to be in a sinking boat by overloading things. Hope you found today's information interesting. Look forward to seeing you the next time.